I'd like to welcome Geshe Dorji. He's known to all of us with a lot of affection. Geshe Dorji Damdul, who is director of the Tibet House in Delhi. And I think there are people who can be given an introduction very quickly or in a page or two, but for me to say things about Geshe Dorji is a little difficult because there's a long trajectory of his personal history, his academic history, and his spiritual history, which is all woven in today. And I can only guarantee you one thing, that it's a rare moment in your lives that you're hearing a high Lama, a high scholar of very high repute, who is with us today. And it's a humbling moment for me to even welcome him into IIT for the very first time today. Geshe Dorji is, you will be surprised, he is on a retreat, which means he should not be, he's on a spiritual retreat, but he has very, very kindly consented and very happily to come and speak to you on the above topic, quantum physics and theory of emptiness in the Heart Sutra. I'd like to introduce Geshe Dorji to you very quickly, and you must hear it carefully. His education, he completed schooling in the upper TCV, Upper Tibetan Children's Village in Dharamshala, and it was at the time that he was contemplating, even as a child, he wanted to be a physicist like many of you are aspiring to be. So here is somebody who's a High Lama who's taken a different road altogether for reasons that we would love that he shares with us. In fact, what made him steer his journey into what made the fork in the road so significant for him. And his studies, and he gained his Geshe Larampa degree, which is a PhD degree in 2002 from Drepung Losling Monastery in Mundgod in Karnataka. There's a very big university monastery there that many of us would love to. I would hope that someday you visit. And he has then, taken up further studies in Tantra in Gyudmet Tantric College, again, Hunsur in Karnataka. Geshe Dorji is, he was affiliated amongst other things with Drepung Losling Library, and he is served as the editor for the Drenoma magazine. And he has also, in 2003, he was at the office of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and it was His Holiness the Dalai Lama who sent Geshe Dorji to Cambridge University, and that is where he went and did another degree in English. And at this time, he was also a fellow at the Girton College in Cambridge University. Geshe Dorji is, it's a rare privilege, and you would know very few High Lamas who would have had this opportunity, as well as the good karma to have served His Holiness as His Holiness the Dalai Lama as his translator. And he has interpreted for him for many, many years, and he has translated a lot of His Holiness's formal teachings and his speeches across the world. Geshe Dorji is, in many ways, I could go on and on telling you a lot of things, but we will be sharing his CV with you so that you get a sense of who your teacher was for today. And you must believe one thing, if I was to tell you this, that in all of your course, I would probably appear like chalk after cheese, and it's from that humble vantage point that I will have to continue to teach you after Geshe Dorji speaks with you. I don't want to kind of come in between this. Like I said, that by talking so much about Geshe Dorji, I might eclipse him. There's so much more that you would learn as he talks to you, as he mingles with you. This is one of the series in which he is here. We hope he continues to come with us, come back to us and speak to us. And on that note, I would like to invite Geshe-la to please stage.
Thank you very much, Professor Bharatiji. It's been a few years that I came to learn, I came to know Professor Bharatiji, and that is itself a great joy for me. And as Professor Bharatiji rightly indicated, that I'm in the middle of the retreat, but since that His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he always holds the students as the priority. Where there's the clash in two things, one the students and the other any other program, His Holiness always gives preference to the students, because students are the future of the world, future of India, future of the world. So with this in mind, I gladly accepted the request made by Professor Bharatiji, and this is my very happy journey to be with Professor Bharatiji all these many years. And I came to know that I was so curious, how come that this lady professor, she is somehow, say there's affinity there. And I came to learn that her own professor, Professor Dalai, I'm sure that many of you know about him. He was one of the very important professors of the JNU, Jawaharlal University, and really outstanding, one of the outstanding professors. So, with this in mind, since this is our first meeting, I will do like 40 to 50 minutes of my talk, and I'll be very happy to entertain questions. And then from there, I will we'll come to know each other. So, what level is your thinking? And then if you find that our interaction proves to be meaningful, then as Professor Bharati indicated, that I'll be happy to be with you together. It'll be my infinite honor. And also that if you have some questions, the questions will be a takeaway for me, meaning that like the president from IIT Delhi, for me to contemplate more. And these are very important things. Okay, so with this in mind, so today is primarily for us to know each other. This is the most important thing, and I may jump from this point to that point, take it for granted that you would understand things very easily. And oftentimes I may go a little slow at the pace which I think the students or the participants they would follow. But for you, I expect that younger ones, they are more intelligent, their mind more active. So I hope that you will be able to follow more quickly. But in case, if you want to learn more in detail some of the very important points, I'll be very happy to explain in more detail. So please feel free to come up with whatever questions that you might have. And the whole idea is not for Buddhism, it's for the humanity. For all of us, whatever religion that you're following, whatever ethnicity, that we have to think of the world as one family. So how to create the world a better world. So with this in mind, the purpose for the IIT here, why is this the case? So for this, I like to I like to quote Albert Einstein. This is one of the quotes which I personally have a great affinity to. We said that, so here the people have the feeling that, oh, I'm a part of MIT, you know that, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'm a part of IIT, Indian Institute of Technology. So with this in mind, you have a sense that the knowledge is something one part is very different from the world. So the point is that I'm citing Albert Einstein. This is so important for us to find the ground while you've been young. You have a sense of, okay, knowledge is very important. And then particularly the young, not only young, but intelligent people, they have the feeling that knowledge is one thing. Yes, this is so important. Oftentimes people say that, what is this knowledge? Finally we have to earn our bread and butter. So the point is that the lack of respect for the knowledge, this is the destruction of the nation. This is the destruction of the world. There's no respect for the knowledge. That is the point where the world turns down. So with this in mind, let us see what Albert has to say, that the knowledge is for a purpose. Knowledge is not just for the sake of knowledge, it's for the purpose. So it says that a human being is a part of the whole, called by us. Okay, is there any way by which we can switch off this light? I think, Professor Bharti, you can put on the lights. That's better. So those at the back, can you see this? Those at the back, can you see what is on the screen? Okay, just say yes, no. Okay, thank you. Can you see this? So finally, thank you. What is on the screen? This is so important for us to see. Human being is a part of the whole, called by us universe. A part limited in time and space. He or she experiences himself or herself, their thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This is exactly what you see today in the world. The different nations, different ethnicities, different religions, they are all torn apart because of the optical delusion, a kind of optical delusion of his or her consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us. This is made of a prison. This is a prison for us, restricting us to a personal desires and affection for a few persons nearest to us. And just see how true that is in our case. That is how true that is in the case of some of the leaders like Putin. What is happening there in Russia? So wars being waged. Say in Gaza Strip, war is happening. So why? Because of this feeling that I and you, this division, created. What should we do now? Our task must be to free ourselves from his prison by widening a circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. So this is the point. So with this in mind, we see that for example, say we go for, there are many startups coming from the various institutions like IIT, MIT, and various other institutions. Startups. Why these startups are coming? Why? So it is to eliminate some problems, eliminate our shortcomings, miseries. In other words, in simple terms, to minimize the miseries. How many agree with me? Raise hands. How many agree with me? Good. So if that's a purpose, then the question is that and I also came to learn that IIT has some meditation programs, which means that you have a problem. It's not only you, me, all of us, we have a problem. So the point is that we should be very realistic. So what we are trying to see is that, so this problem, where is it coming from? These miseries, where are they coming from? In your family. In a family, and on the national level, on the global level, all the miseries, where are they coming from? This question. So for this, what is the cause of all miseries? So we see that there are two factors, primarily two factors responsible for the miseries. And say once in a while, it can be interactive. I'll throw some questions, and feel free to. And if you feel that something needs more clarity, raise hands. So all our miseries, they come from two factors. Two factors. Okay, let's all pull out two hands out. Two factors, two hands out. Two hands out. Okay, what happened? The sound of a clap erupted. Sound of a clap erupted. This sound of clap is the metaphor for our miseries that we go through. And these miseries, which like the sound of clap, it should necessarily come into being by the combination of two factors. Like two hands, one symbolizing external factors and the other symbolizing internal factors. External factors and internal factors. Okay, certainly I just like some volunteers to tell us what kind of problems you have. Raise hands quick. What kind of problems you have? Quick, to save time. Yes, over there, the girl over there. Academic. What? Career problems. What? In what way? To make it more very clear.
Like not believing in myself, not having too much confidence in what I do and what I like.
Okay. Because your professor expecting more than what are you doing?
Yeah, not meeting.
Okay, not meeting with what the professor is really strict. Okay, anyone else? Quick, to save time. Quick. What kind of problems? Competition. Because these people, if they are less better than me, then I'll be okay. All right. Okay. Anyone else? Quick. Just to save time, quick. Anyone? Okay, so yes, over there. Time management. What's it called, the time management?
To manage time equally between studies, extracurriculars, etc.
So if there's only one thing, then I can manage it very easily. So there's so many things to do, right? Okay, we see that the time management, there are so many things to do outside. So external factors, like my professor expecting too much from me, external factor, right? And what? Competition, all these people, right? If I'm like, what? Albert Einstein, then no competition from outside, right? So I'll be so calm and peaceful. So others, they got these as my competitors. So we see that they're all external factors. Okay, now let's quickly do one exercise. That to see, and then what I expect you is that I expect you to fully be a part of it, meaning that take part in this. Okay, and these are to tell us, while we talk about quantum mechanics, on the ground what is happening within myself, on the ground. We have to know this. Okay, so our job is to do mathematical calculation. And don't worry, it's going to be very simple mathematics, plus and minus. There's 2 less than number 6. Easy? Okay, so what you do is that do this calculation mentally, and you give the answer only when I ask you what's the answer. Till that point, do it all mentally. Ready? Okay, 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 2 minus 1 plus 2 plus 2 minus 1. What's the answer? Wow, that's amazing. This IIT is amazing. Okay, now let us see. Now let's do it again. Again, the same thing. You tell me the answer only when I tell you what's the answer. Only then you speak. Till that point, do everything mentally. Ready? 2 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1 plus 2 plus 3 minus 1 plus 2. What's the answer? No? Okay, now tell me, say why in the first case you were able to give the answer correctly, why in the second case you cannot give the answer correctly. Just raise your hand, quick. Yes, the lady here.
Probably in the first case we were taking time to process the instructions, and in the second case the instructions were given very quickly, so
Okay.
we were not able to process what has happened.
What's your name?
Vaishali.
Vaishali.
Yes.
Okay, so how will you agree with Vaishali that in the second case instruction given was so quick? I gave the instruction very quick. Resents? Okay. Do you agree with me that in the second case why you failed to give the answer is not only that I said it fast, your brain processed very slowly. But you blame me. You did not blame your brain. You're getting it? You did not say that, oh, my mind cannot process that fast. My mind is not as fast as a computer. But you blame me. You said it fast. So me saying it fast is an external factor or internal factor? It's an external factor. And your brain processing slowly is internal factor. We are so addicted to blaming the external factors, while both are responsible. External factor and internal factor both are responsible, but we are so addicted to looking for the external factors. You're getting it? Okay, this is the problem. Now let me say that, but the point is that some religions would say that, oh no, don't look for the external factors, it's your problem, it's not external. No, if you blame the external factors and your misery stop, blame the external factors, that is your dharma. Whereas, how many such external factors are there? 10? 20? 30? How many external factors are there which can potentially create problem to you? Huh? Infinite. Very good. Infinite external factors are there. For example, let's say that even what we identify as conducive factors, even they can become non-conducive. For example, let's say that Professor Bharatiji takes us all to Dharamsala to have an audience with His Holiness the Dalai Lama. We are so excited for a holiday. And then the Professor Bharati said that, okay, the boys and girls, you'll all say the boys and girls, you stay in one room, 5. Then your problem is, ma'am, I have no privacy. And then, okay, then you will have a separate room. Then I'm lonely. You understand what I'm saying? So when you are with other people, you have a problem of not having privacy. When you're alone, you have a problem of feeling lonely. This is the greatest of the internal contradiction dilemma within ourselves. No external factor, no one can help to fix this problem. The problem is inside. But it doesn't mean that all problems are inside. All problems are inside. No, this is not the reality. External, internal, both are there. So our job is to take care of both. Don't just say external, internal. We should take care of both. Only when you become really realize the way, the manner in which I'm going to explain now, will you really become realized. Then just fix the internal problems, everything is fixed. So, in short, what I'm saying is that external factors, how many of such external factors there? There are infinite external factors in the end. No matter how much you do to remove the external factors, they will never come to an end. So wise people will look for the internal factors. Okay, so what is your next question? What would be next question? So whenever I make some conclusion, and then I invite you to some questions, so this will take us to the next point. So what I said is that wise people will look for knowing that external factors, they're innumerable in number. You cannot get rid of all the external factors. Even a part, we cannot get it off fully. So the wise people, in the long run, the wise people look for the internal factors. So that's wise people. What they say, people can be classified into two. Those people who always blame external factors all the time, these are unwise people, immature people. Those people who look for the internal factors, to fix the internal factors, they think of fixing the internal factors to stop the sound of a clam. So these people are wise people, evolved beings. So what would be the next question? Raise hand. Yes.
Work on our internal factors.
Okay, so this is IIT's question. You're going to get, so in fact, there's another question before that. This question is very good. Before this is, what are the internal factors and how to fix the internal factors? Okay, so internal factors, when you speak about internal factors, is more to do with your mind. You agree? Not agree. It's more to do with your own mind, right? Okay. For some people, Delhi is a horrible place to stay. For some people, Delhi is a beautiful place. What is that for you, Delhi? Good place or not good place to stay? Nisho? Not good place. Okay. I personally say that Delhi is a beautiful place, amazing. For my personal retreat, many people, they ask me, Geshe, we're going to sit for the person, you're going to Dharamsala, Simla. I said, no. Where? Delhi. Why Delhi? I love Delhi. And why you love Delhi? Because Delhi is an amazing place. If you look at Delhi properly, Delhi is an amazing place. Why? I'll give you one example. Once I was invited by Pune University to give a series of talk there, and my host came to pick me up at the port. I landed, they came to receive me, and they were literally sweating. I said, Geshe, it's very hot, it's so very, very sorry. I said, no, it's so pleasant. I said, no, it's so hot, I'm sweating. Yes, he's sweating. And I said, wow, thank you, Delhi. Because of Delhi, wherever you travel, you feel the breeze. That's amazing. Amazing. Literally wherever you travel, you can feel the breeze. Otherwise, somebody from, let's say, the Bangalore, where the weather is so good, they come to Delhi, wherever they go, there's a problem. For me, wherever I travel, it's so beautiful place because of Delhi. So therefore, this is how the same. In other words, what we are saying is that tackling the internal factors. So two questions are there. The first question is, what are the internal factors? And the second question is, how to deal with the internal factors. So what we said is, both. The first question, what's the first question? What are the internal factors? What's the second question? How to deal with that? Internal factors, primarily, there are two. One is ignorance, and the other one is selfishness. Ignorance and selfishness. And how to fix the two? Usually people say that you go to any religious traditions. Hey, be kind, be nice, don't be selfish. But how not to be selfish? No, don't be selfish. I know, it's so difficult. How not to be selfish? How not to be, the jealous? How not to be do that? No, not be jealous, be kind to others. Yes, I want to, but how? There's no answer. You're getting it? So the point is that therefore, the knowledge plays a very important role. Number one, intelligence. Number two, knowledge. Number three, wisdom. Distinction among these three is extremely important. Intelligence is the hardware. Some people are intelligent, some people are not so intelligent by birth. But the true nature of the mind of everyone is so pure and so intelligent. Only thing is that some people, they are born not being so practically habituated in the studies from the past life. So therefore here, you're born with less level of intelligence. But true nature, the intelligence is just perfect for everyone. So this, if you want to discuss more, I'll discuss later separately. For time being, what I would say is that intelligence is the hardware of the individuals. Albert Einstein, there's only one Albert Einstein, not many Albert Einstein. Naturally gifted intelligence. Niels Bohr, Charles Darwin, they're amazing. Knowledge, intelligence with the acquisition of information, it becomes knowledge. Intelligence With the acquisition of information, that becomes the knowledge. Oh, this person is knowledgeable. Next is wisdom. This knowledge, the knowledge should be there should be purpose. And the purpose is for what? Purpose for what? People, create some very intuitive, they say, the very interesting, startups. And some, they can say, out of 100 startups, 99 fail, crash. One succeed. Right? One succeed. So why do these people go to begin to initiate some startups? Why? Because they want to make money or they want to become popular. So what's if they get money or they become popular? So that they feel happy. So this is the point. So where the knowledge, intelligence, knowledge, this knowledge is directed towards a genuine happiness, that becomes wisdom. Knowledge directed towards, geared towards attaining a genuine happiness for yourself and for the larger good, that is wisdom. Knowledge which is geared towards your destruction and the destruction for others in the world, that is ignorance. So with this, knowledge doesn't mean wisdom. Knowledge can become wisdom provided it can lead us to a meaningful purpose. So with this in mind, how to acquire this wisdom? How to acquire the knowledge? All this IIT, MIT, these are all for that purpose. Knowledge, high-level knowledge is being provided in these institutions. Then how to make it wisdom? For this, so the psychology, for the knowledge, and then transforming it to wisdom. Knowledge is purely about to know the reality. And to know the reality is primarily on the ontological reality. What constitutes the reality out there? Ontology. So the knowledge, what I wrote there is that it takes you to the ontological knowledge, ontological reality, or the ontology. And the wisdom, then that wisdom is the one which uses this knowledge to make yourself more compatible with the world, more compassionate, more embracing, the deeper sense of contentment and calmness. And no external factors can shake you. For example, like, the deadlines, right? Essay writings, deadlines, 2 essays, 3 essays, 4 essays, 5 essays, right? Within 3 days, right? Then you're in stress. Let's not forget it. It says that there's one amazingly brilliant master, Indian master by the name Bodhisattva Shantideva. What he said is that under such situation, how do we tackle this? What he said is that if there's a cure, why should you worry? Go for the cure. If there's no cure, what's the point of worrying? You worry, it will not help, it will only harm you. Let me repeat it. If there's a cure, why should you worry? Go for the cure. If there's no cure, what's the point of worrying? It will only add to your miseries. So with this in mind, how to deal with your mind, internal factors. So we talk about the first one is ontological reality. Then number 2 is that your mind should gear this knowledge of the ontology to make it meaningful, to make it a wisdom, this knowledge into wisdom. How to make that into wisdom? For that, we have to know how the mind works, psychology, how the mind works. When does your knowledge become destructive? When does it become constructive? The psychology. And the psychology is about your psyche. And the ontology is about the ontological reality of the object. So object and subject. So what links the two? Epistemology. Epistemology. So these 3 subjects become very important. So with this in mind, say the Buddha, just as Albert Einstein indicated that all our problems are because of the optical delusion. You remember that, which I showed you in the first slide? Okay. Sorry. It says, he experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings, as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion. What is optical delusion? It's ignorance. So one of the internal factors is ignorance. This is the root of our miseries. So how do we fix this problem? How to face this ignorance? So what's the cause of all miseries? Two factors, external, internal. And one of the factors is the optical delusion, ignorance as the root of all the miseries. How to fix this problem? So we require, number one, we have to know the reality. Ignorance is what? What distorts the reality. You agree? Ignorance is, by very definition, it is the mindset which distorts the reality. So we have to fix the reality in your mind. That is, to know the ontological reality as it is. Number one is the ontological reality. And then this ontological reality must be known by your mind, and then see how the mind behaves when it sees the reality versus when it's obscure of the reality, when the reality is blurred in the eyes of this your mind. So how the mind behaves differently. So for that matter, we have to know the cognitive and the affective side. Cognitive side to know the reality, and the affective side how the mind behaves. How the mind behaves. For example, say that say I have a very complicated staff. Let's say I don't have a complicated staff in Tibet House. They're all very nice staff. Let's say that I have a very complicated, you have a very complicated colleague, a student, another student, class very complicated, right? The moment you see this person, it makes you feel so disturbed. Some of you might have, right? Okay, so let's say that today, there's a talk organized by Professor Bharati, and I hope that this person will not come up. That person will not come. And you're pretty sure that person will. And then you are here, you feel so calm and peace. And this person also thought the same way, that if I go to this talk, maybe he will not come. Right? And the person comes. And you see the person. Instantly your heart started to palpitate. Tick, 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 happen. So the person was not even aware of your presence. But already disturbance happens to your mind. Disturbance happened, physiological disturbance already occurred. Mentally you are disturbed, emotionally disturbed, physiologically disturbed. So why? Why did it happen? Anyone? Why did it happen?
Disturbance, when disturbance happens more due to how we perceive that things will allow us rather than them actually happening.
Your name? Say it again.
I'm sorry, my name is Akash, and the disturbance of the mind happens due to how we perceive that things will alarm us or worry us.
Wonderful.
Rather than them actually happening.
So, what the person said, not said, this is not a point. The point is that how you perceive. Perceive is a cognitive activity of your mind. You're getting it? Cognitive activity of the mind. And the affective mind is the mind which moves. Makes first the mind to move. Then it makes your physiology to move. Then it makes your body to move into sweat. And mental disturbance. All these things happen, they're all connected to each other. So it all started from the cognitive activity of your mind, a certain cognitive activity of mind. You're getting it? This is so important. So now, how to fix this problem? If it is the cognitive activity of the mind which is responsible in triggering the chain of this reaction, eventually culminating into the form of your agitation, your stress. Okay, so if this is the So how to fix this? This is a very important question. Okay, anyone who likes to give some ideas how to fix this problem? Fine, I don't want to feel mentally feel disturbed. How should I fix this problem? And this problem is because of my own perception. As the Akash,
Yeah.
what Akash said, is all because of my perception. It's nothing to do with the person actually harming me. Person even did not know my presence here. Simply my perception of the person already mental disturbance happened. How to fix this? Anyone? This is a very important question. You getting it? So, say in the various academic institutions like IIT, for sure there are so many such cases of stress, anxiety, and so these things are there. How to manage these problems? This is one thing that we need to remember. Okay. So from this, what we see is that finally, your perception is perception of the object. Whether your perception is correct or not correct, this is questionable. Your perception correct or not correct is questionable. You getting it? So this needs to be fixed. This needs to be, first of all, the question, my perception. Finally, my perception is the one responsible, eventually culminating in the form of stress. Is this perception valid or not valid? This is to be questioned, number one. And then finally, why my mind behaves like this in a stressful way when I see the person or when I see this situation in a certain form. Why my mind behaves like this? Okay, how many of you, morning you wake up and you say, oh, today I'm so excited because if somebody who's undesirable comes, then my mind will be stressful. I'm so excited. How many of you are looking forward to that? Nobody's looking forward. But your mind behaves like this. You don't want the mind to behave like this, but the mind behaves like this, involuntarily. So how to fix this? If you learn how to fix this, then this is amazing, great, this is success of your life. How to manage this when my mind involuntarily behaves in a very different way as opposed to how I wish the mind to behave. So for that we require what is known as mental training. We need to train the mind. How to train the mind? Oh, go to a retreat. No, it will not help. You're getting it. Even the rabbits, they are always in retreats. The rabbits, wild animals, they're on their own. It will not help. There should be some activity happening. Correct activities happening. Correct activities. So what kind of correct activity is required? So for that is whole process known as training the mind. And for this mind, we have to know the mind, map of the mind. Say for example, I want to go to Delhi. Where? I want to go to Delhi IIT. For this, you have to know what is Delhi like. Okay, I just enter the Chandigarh and then Sonibad and then go to Delhi. I enter IIT. No. This is your, say, the oversimplification of Delhi. So Delhi, you have to know the map of the Delhi. So likewise, you have to know the map of your mind. This is extremely important. Okay. So with this in mind, now I'd like to just quickly explain this in ways of fixing our cognitive errors. Cognitive errors? Because what Akash said is that our perception is responsible for triggering the chain of mental unrest or restlessness within my mind. So perception is a purely cognitive activity. So how to fix the cognitive activity so that our, say, undesirable bodily reactions or the psychophysical reactions, they all stop. Undesirable reactions stop. So for this, we need to learn the Buddha identified the errors or ignorance as the cause of the miseries. So the 4 levels of ignorance are identified here. First, all composite things are impermanent. While things are impermanent, we see things as permanent. We see things as permanent. But the reality is, all composite things are impermanent, but we see them as permanent. This is erroneous. This is cognitive mistake, cognitive error. Because of this, then there's so much unnecessary tensions built up. For example, like, say, two friends. Initially when you become friends, boys, girls, whatever, become friends, you perceive the other person is so nice, right? Your roommate, whatever, classmate, whatever, very nice. And you see that, oh, yeah, this person is very nice. So you expect this person to be permanently nice. And then after a while, the person changes. And you are shocked. Why you are shocked? Because you perceive that as permanent, and it's not permanent. It's very different. For example, your mobile, the iPhone, now what, 15, 16? 15, still 15. Okay. So, a brand new iPhone 15 as your gift on a birthday. So you expect that to be permanent, right? And then you rub it you clean it every day, the first week. Every day you rub it, clean it. And then if somebody says, may I borrow your mobile? And you lend it. And accidentally it just drops. What happens is your heart drops, right? You expect it not to undergo change. You expect it to be permanent. This is a problem. This is a major problem. Misperceiving impermanent phenomena as permanent, whereas if you have the acknowledgement that it should be impermanent, yes, all composite is impermanent, then when something happens, you're not that affected. You're not that affected. Okay, this just it brought me to say a story that happened in a monastery. This is very interesting. So the teacher and monk teacher and a monk student. And the monk teacher always teaches the student that all composite existence is impermanent. And in the olden days, unlike these thermos, in the olden days, the thermos inside is what? Insulation is glass instead of steel. So this is glass, steel. So in the olden time, they're mostly glass, made of glasses. How many of you know that? Raise hands. Okay, only older ones, including myself. Okay, so most of them are glasses. Made of steel is, maybe they existed 1 out of 1,000. Majority, they are all glasses. And these are so precious because unlike today, in those days, it becomes like the asset, your asset. And one day, the monk student, he broke this thermos. And the monk student was so scared because this is an asset for the whole, the monastery. And for the teacher's mind, this is so precious, so important. And the student was so scared. And the student asked the teacher, "Sir, is it true that all composite things are impermanent?" And the teacher said, "Yes, of course. This is what I told you every day." "Yeah, today I realize it's true." I said, "Why?" "Because the thermos, it broke." That's also a composite phenomenon, right? So the teacher could not say anything. Okay, so this. So next is, all contaminated things are of the nature of suffering. All contaminated here, meaning mental contamination, cognitive contamination, affective contamination, cognitive contamination like seeing impermanent phenomena as permanent, and affective contamination like seeing things as undesirable, seeing the other people as undesirable, your enemies, anger, attachment, craving, jealousy, all these things are affective contaminations. So where your mind is contaminated in these forms, you are never happy. Believe it or not, if you fix your cognitive errors, and if you fix your affective errors, affective, say the narrowness, affective thinking, the narrowness of the affective thinking, for example, like selfishness or attachment, craving, jealousy, and so forth. If you cut down on these, you are a way happier person. So, all contaminated things are the nature of suffering. While they're nature of suffering, we see them as nature of happiness. Okay, how many of you like momos? Raise hands. How many like momos? How many of you know momos? Raise hands. Okay, how many of you like momos? Raise hands. Okay, you like momos, right? Okay, say that, then I give you, I come with the, say, whole basket of momos. First momo, you like it? Very delicious. Second piece? Delicious. 10th piece? Okay. 20th? No. 30th? No way. You're getting it? Which is more delicious? First piece or the 50th piece? Which is more delicious? First piece. Let's keep the first piece the last. First piece the last, which is the most delicious one, we'll keep it last. There's no difference. The nature of that is contaminated. Because of this, it'll end up into miseries. All contaminated things are suffering nature. But we don't see them as suffering nature. We see them as of joy, joyful nature. And because of this, when it turns out to be suffering nature, then you are shocked. You are dissatisfied. You are mentally stressed. You are mentally unhappy because of this ignorance. Then number 3 is very interesting. What is number 3? Anyone? What is read the number 3? Everything is the nature of emptiness and sadness. This is extremely important. If you get this to fix the major part of our ignorance, you will be freed from mental stress, all kinds of mental stress. You're getting it? Then these 2 lines by Bodhisattva Shantideva, if there's a cure, why should you worry? Go for the cure. If there's no cure, what's the point of worrying? So this makes sense to you if you realize the number 3. Okay, so this is such amazing, the realization. Number 3, everything is the nature of emptiness and selflessness. So I'll quickly touch on this and briefly go into quantum physics and the Buddhist philosophy of emptiness, briefly to and fro, and then I'd like to entertain some questions from you. So what is said here is that the first to give you, because this is going to be just a few minutes, I'm going to give you the example to take us to the point more quickly. Let's say that say how many of you had say very unpleasant dreams in your life? Raise hands. Nightmares, unpleasant dreams, very scary dreams in life. Raise hands. Good. Okay. And the raise hands once more. Okay, the boy here. Tell me, you are scared? Why you are scared? It's not real. By the way, can you give an example of a dream, scary dream?
One of the dreams I had.
Mike.
I lost my mother in one of my dreams.
Say it again.
I lost my mother in one of the dreams.
Which means your mother died.
Yeah.
In the dream. Okay, similar thing happened to me also. Okay, then?
It was very disturbing.
Very disturbing.
Yeah.
Why? But it's not real. So why were you disturbed?
The thought of this, that it will happen in the future and I won't be ready.
No. What I'm saying is in the dream. In the dream, you were so scared. You were so disturbed. Why you were disturbed in the dream? It was not real.
At that time, it felt so real in the dream.
Yes. You all had already the answer came to your mind, I know. Right? But in the dream, I saw it as real. On your waking up, I saw that as not real. This is your answer. So the point is that the dream of having lost a mother, while your mother was not lost, the dream of having lost a mother was a great disturbance to you in the dream. Was not a disturbance as much when you wake up. You agree? Okay. So tell me, why in the dream it was so disturbing? The same event the dream mother lost. It was so disturbing in the dream, and it was not disturbing when you wake up. Why? Quick, somebody, quick. Raise hands. Quick, raise hands to save time. Quick, somebody. Yes, over here.
Because he thought it was real in the dream.
Okay, so in the yes. Yeah, you speak, yes. Yes.
I think the attachment is there because of which we suffered in our dream, and we felt, and also that dream felt so real that we were not able to absorb that thing.
Okay, so when you wake up, the fear dissolves. Why did the fear dissolve?
Because we get to know that that is just a dream, and
Okay, how many agree with, what's your name?
Yash.
How many agree with Yash? Good. Okay, say in a way, do you agree with me? Now we're going to go a little technical. When you wake up, what happens is that the dream mother being lost was seen as subjective. It's not objectively real, it's subjective. You agree? In the dream, you saw the dream mother being lost, seen as objective. You getting it? So, from this, what we see is that when we see things as objectively real, then emotions are stirred. When you see things as subjectively real, not that it is objectively real, it's subjective, emotions are under control. Okay, for example, let's say, yes, over there.
So what do you mean by objective?
Okay, this is a good question. Say, okay, I'm feeling a little thirsty. I have water here, and I know that you're also very thirsty, right? So imagine a glass of juice. Yes, imagine a glass of juice. Drink that, and I'll drink this water, and you drink the imaginary. What's the difference? And you will laugh at me. You are all laughing at me. Why? What's the difference between this glass of water and the glass of juice that I gave you? What's the difference?
That glass of water is real and mine was
This glass of water is real, and the other glass of water is
imaginary.
Imaginary meaning coming from your mind. So your mind is subject to the object. Subject. You're getting it? Your mind is a subject, and this is object. So the water that I have is objective, and the imaginary juice that I asked you to take, that is subjective. You're getting it? Okay, from this, you tell me, say, mirage. Mirage is subjective or objective? Subjective, very good. And dream, objective, subjective? Very good. Now, in the dream, you see the dream as subjective or objective? You see it's objective. Seeing the dream as objective is ignorance or wisdom? Ignorance. And it happens in the dream or outside the dream? Seeing the dream as real, as objective real, it happens in the dream or outside the dream? In the dream. And that is ignorance, and the outcome is fear. Ignorance leading to fear. Seeing the dream as subjective happens in the dream or outside the dream? Outside the dream. Seeing the dream as subjective real happens outside the dream, that is wisdom or ignorance? Wisdom, and the outcome is the fear dissolves. So, ignorance triggers fears, and the wisdom triggers the freedom from fears. So our job is to trigger the wisdom. So in this case, what is that wisdom? To see the dream as subjective or objective? Subjective. That is the wisdom. So our job is, if we can see that not only the dream, everything is subjective, your mind be free from all the miseries, all the stress. This is the point. Okay, how many of you have stress because of so many deadlines? So much deadlines? Yes, here? Right, okay. Your professor's staring. Right. Okay, so the deadlines, there's a stress there because we're seeing these deadlines as objectively real. And if you see that as subjective real, empty of objective reality, your stress will dissolve. You're getting it? And how many want to maintain the stress? Or how many want to get rid of the stress? Raise hands. How many want to get rid of the stress? Raise hands. Okay. Okay, good. Many of you are half. Right? Okay. So the point is that if there is a way by which we can know that everything is subjective, including this classroom, the friends around you, they are subjective. If there is a way by which we can see that, we are actually, say, they bring about a cognitive transformation, realigning the cognitive activity of mind. From seeing things objectively real to seeing things as subjectively real, empty of objective reality. When that happens, all your stress calms down. You getting it? Now going back to the main point, as what Akash said, say the person comes, who you thought that this person will not come for this lecture, right? And the person comes, and then you start feeling the mental disturbance, and you come to know that it was actually not that person. It was another person. Instantly the peace comes to your mind. You agree? It's purely cognitive transformation, cognitive realignment of your cognitive activity of the mind. Oh, this complicated person. Oh no, I was mistaken. It was not a complicated, it was another person. Instantly your mind will feel the calmness. The moment you realign your cognitive activity of the mind from that difficult person, perceiving the person as difficult one to the neutral person, your agitation subsides. This is amazingly helpful to see that, to learn how to see everything as subjectively real, nothing objectively real. Okay, in this connection, so this everything's nature of emptiness meaning emptiness of objective reality. They are all subjective. So if it happens, if it does happen, then it transcends your sorrow. The last line, transcend your sorrow is absolute peace. Oops, what happened? Okay. So with this, and now the question is that what we are seeing is not real. This is your question. Or do you mean to say that what we are seeing is not real? Like a dream? Answer is yes. And this is very shocking. No, so Niels Bohr, what is that? Is that if quantum mechanics hasn't profoundly shocked you, you haven't understood it yet. Likewise, the Buddha taught that the reality that the Buddha is teaching, that nothing exists objectively, is very profound. Peaceful, free of elaborations, clear light, non-complex. Such a natural reality was ever found. Finding no one who can fathom this path is so difficult to understand this. Quantum physics, how many people understand quantum physics? So less. So, finding no one could fathom this path, in silence I'll return to the woods. So, to know what the ontological reality is, objectivity is extremely important. To maintain an objective attitude towards the reality. You should not be influenced by your biases, by your philosophical biases, or by your religious biases. You should not be influenced by these to know the reality. So why objectivity is emphasized in Buddhist philosophy and quantum mechanics? When I was in Cambridge, 2003, when many of you are not born then, 2003, how old were you?
22.
No, 2003. Huh?
2002.
You were born 2002. Which 2003 is just 1 year old. So, 2003, when I was in Cambridge, I used to meet a lot of professors, particularly physicists. And there was one particular physicist who was extremely brilliant, and many people find it very difficult to talk to him. Because you talk to him, that you just utter one sentence, he will say there's an internal contradiction there. So people find it so difficult to talk to him. And then the draw-up exchange. He said he made one statement, a very big statement. What he said is that in this world, only physics is education, which means chemistry is not education, right? Or in this world, only physics is education. And I said, why? And he said, because only physics allows you to have a critical thinking. All others are imitation of the earlier teachers. Then I said that, okay, if this is the reason that you give, then listen to what the Buddha has to say. Then he said, yes. Then I cited the Buddha. The Buddha said, just as the goldsmith tests the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing, and burning the gold, you should also examine my words and put them into practice, not simply because you respect me. Then he remained silent for a few seconds. He said, oh, the Buddha must have been a great physicist. So, what I'm saying, this is extremely important. If you want to know the reality, if you want to get rid of ignorance, you have to know the reality. To know the reality, all biases must be gotten rid of. If you come up with the baggage of your biases, there's no way by which you can see the ontological reality. So for this, both quantum physics, Buddhist philosophy, as well as relativity theory, if you really want to approach any of these three disciplines, you should be extremely, extremely objective in your approach. And doing any studies, academic studies, you are advised to be very objective. So this is the verse which the Buddha taught. Just as the goldsmith tests the purity of the gold by cutting, rubbing, burning the gold, you should also examine my words and put them to practice, not simply because you respect me. Okay, so now I'm going to just quickly go into this. Now they say this microcosm and the macrocosm. What's the reality? Reality that we see now, that we are in the hall. What do you call this hall? Okay, teaching hall. And then, okay, people around me. So this is all the macro world. And there's a macro world. The macro world, electrons, protons, neutrons, and so forth, macro world. And say with physics, relativity theory touches the macro world, whereas the quantum physics touches the macro world. This is reality. And many physicists, they are trying to bring unified theory. They're trying to come up with the unified theory. But this is something which they cannot do it thus far. Unified field theory. So, a similar concept is what you find in Buddhist philosophy known as, the conventional truth and ultimate truth. Conventional truth meaning the macro world that we are seeing. Okay, you are a human being, so we are all thirsty. When will he stop the talk now? He said 40 minutes, it's already 1 hour, right? When will he stop? When will he ask? So this is all the macro world. In the micro world, okay, how many of you think you are below 30? Raise hands. Below 30, raise hands. Okay, above the 30 plus, raise hands, including myself, 30 plus. Okay, so the below 30, when I say below 30, they are very happy. Okay, I fall in the younger group. Above 30, you are not too good, you are not too happy, right? Okay, now he is exposing us. Okay, do you agree with me on the macro reality that we are nothing, we are made of atoms? How many agree with me, raise hands? We are nothing but made of atoms. And all the atoms are same age. There's no one atom which is younger, there's no one atom which is older. All the atoms which make my body, the body of 55 years old, and atoms of you, 22 years old, right? These atoms are same age, all 15 billion years old. All the atoms are 15 billion years old, if not more. Thus far, the quantum physicists, particularly according to the Big Bang theory, it says Big Bang is the origin of the universe, which is 15 billion years old. Some say 14. It doesn't matter. So all atoms are the same age. On that level, there's no young, old. You agree? On the micro level, the reality is very different. On the macro level, there is undeniable reality that I'm older than you. You are younger. This is undeniable reality. You agree? So there is a discrepancy between appearance on the macro level and the reality on the macro level. There's a discrepancy there. So with this discrepancy, extremely important. If you discover this discrepancy, then you see that what we are seeing is purely subjective. Objectively, when you go there, you see the atoms. No atom is younger, no atom is older. But on the subjective appearance is what? Subjective or objective? Subjective. On the appearance level, undeniably you see somebody is younger, somebody is older. And if you go further, say gender, male, female, this gender, on the atomic level there's no difference. There's no male atom, there's no female atoms. All are same. Electrons, protons, neutrons, they're all same. There's no difference. But on the macro level, we see males, females, and the difference is there. On the micro level, there's no difference. All are just the same. It's very scary. It's very scary. So which is the reality? The macro one or the macro one? Macro one is purely appearance. The macro one is deeper reality. So if there's a reality, it should be the micro one, not the macro. But if you deny the macro, you deny the functionality of the world. So how to reconcile this? This is an extremely important topic. And if you come to know that everything is purely subjective, nothing really objective there, all your stress will go away. All the stress are created by the belief that things are all objectively real. That is what creates all the stress. Okay, so just for your information, so here we have the picture of His Holiness, and the next to that is Professor Andrew Zelenker. And how many of you Professor Andrew Zelenker? How many of you know Professor Andrew Zelenker? Anyone? Anyone from physics? Raise hands. Anyone from physics? Raise hands. No one. That's interesting. Okay, Professor Andrew Zelenker, he was the Nobel laureate in physics, 2022. And in fact, I was so happy that he got the prize. Way before that, 2008, I think. 2008, he was there for a conference in the presence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and I asked him many questions on quantum physics. And he's a quantum physicist. So, he is expert in the double slit experiment. So then subjectivity, there are so many layers. If you really want to know this, there are so many layers which we can discuss later on, if you're interested. Later on, not meaning not today, sometimes later. And then these concepts like the quantum vacuum concept. Okay, this is another important physicist, Professor Nicholas Gissen. He is the level of the Nobel laureate, the physicist, Swiss. The physicist. Done. Okay, and he's the one, again, we had a good interaction through Professor Ciceroy in the NIS, National Institute of Social Sciences, and the NIAS. And the Professor Nicholas Gissen, he is one of the pioneers of the quantum teleportation concept. Okay. So this is a place. This is a place today we call as the Nalanda, erstwhile Nalanda University, where all these thoughts, how things are all subjectively real, it evolved in this place. First taught by Buddha, later on commended by the great Indian masters like Nagarjuna, Acharya Chandrakirti and so forth. And His Holiness the Dalai Lama, at one point when he was giving a teaching on the subjectivity of subjectivity is reality, ultimate reality, then the one brilliant Indian physicist, Professor Rajaramanan, he was a brilliant, one of the pioneers of the today's physics amongst the Indians. He approached His Holiness and told His Holiness that what you taught all these 2 hours was actually newly being discovered the last 100 years by the quantum physicists. But they were already discovered by the Indian masters 1,000 years ago. So which means quantum physics and the philosophy of emptiness, these two are very similar. Okay, I will not go further. There are more things, but if you're interested in the PPT, I'll be happy to leave it here, and You can, there's still more talks, more topics. I'm not going to touch now. I'll stop here. I'd like to entertain some questions if it's all right.
Thank you.
Questions? So questions, any question that you might have, please do not hesitate. Okay, Akash?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Basically my question revolves around, in the mid-19th century, Charles Darwin told us that the world is governed by survival of the fittest. Right? So my question is, if indeed the survival of the fittest leads to an unfair world where I necessarily have to harm others to protect my resources, that is attachment to resources. How does Buddhism resolve that? Because I can either have survival of the fittest or I can either be unattached. So
okay.
How does we resolve that?
Thank you. This is already here. I'm supposed to be discussing. Because of no time, I didn't discuss. So it's already there. Charles Darwin's the evolutionary theory. So according to evolution theory, there was, again, back in 2008, when I was in America, working with Professor Paul Ekman on the book. If you're interested, you must read this book, Emotional Awareness book, co-authored by His Holiness the Dalai Lama and Professor Paul Ekman. And Professor Paul Ekman, he is a pioneer. He's a pioneer of the microfacial expression reading. He's the pioneer of the science of microfacial expression reading. And then two of them working on this book, Emotional Awareness. And the Office of His Holiness sent me to America to work with him to see that His Holiness's voice they are reflected authentically. And I was there with him for 5 days. And the second day, the evening of the second day, he was meeting with, say, the other psychologists, his friends. And he asked me to introduce what I'm doing and so forth. I talked about all these Buddhist concepts, how to free ourselves from the destructive emotions. And one psychologist, a lady psychologist, raised her hand and said that we cannot remove all the emotions from attachment, as you said. We cannot get rid of these because that we require the survival of the fittest. We require the attachment to gather the conducive factors. We require anger to get rid of the unconducive factors. We require fear to get away from the threat of being eaten by the lions and so forth. Without in the first place, these emotions are instincts. We cannot get rid of them. Number two, if you get rid of them, then that you are as risking your survival of the fittest. You should be fit with these three emotions so that your species will continue. So the answer is, yes, this is an amazingly important thing. And particularly, as I said earlier, let us not go blindly. Some people, they even go in science blindly into science. Some people go into religion blindly. Some people go into philosophy blindly. You can study any disciplines, science, religion, philosophy, so forth, but maintain an open mind or objectivity is required. The attitude of objectivity is so much required. In other words, idea is that Charles Darwin did not really touch anything about how to fix your cognitive errors. This is what he failed to address. I personally respect him, amazed. One person just brought such a revolution in the human knowledge. It's amazing. But he did not address everything. How to fix your mind, where you can be fit without having to resort to the destructive emotions. He did not address this. So the point is that if you want to know this, the answer is that yes, we can remain fit to survival of the fittest, without having to resort to the destructive emotions like attachment, aversion, and fear. If you want to know more of this, I'll be happy. That can be our next topic for the next session. Okay, the girl here, there's a question. Yes.
So, just to kind of bring your attention to the fact that they may have another class. So, does anybody have a class after this?
Okay, those who have class.
So, those of you who have a class may exit very
Yes,
quietly,
yes.
and the ones who do have a question can stay. Hi. So we talked about being subjective and how it felt objective in that moment, but later we realized that it was subjective. But what if those objective things happen in real life? How do you deal with that? Because we talked a lot about subjectivity, but we did not talk about what when those actual things that we think about that might go wrong actually happen. So that's Buddhism talk about that.
Okay, this is a very good question. This is extremely good question. In ways that the dream is easier for us to know it as subjective. But what about the waking state, which is objective? How can we say that this is subjective? This is your question? Very good. For this, what we need to learn is that the subjectivity has various levels. So the dream example is something which is convincing to all of us. It's very convincing. Using that as an example, then see how even the waking state is also subjective. For example, the one example that I give you is that let's say that say you build a house. You build a house with 3 rooms. And you're not sure which room is going to be your living room. Room A, B, and C. And then you say that, okay, the A is closer towards the sun, that's full of light. So room A, I'll make it living room. So where people can meet. So that's my living room. So when the house is built, the room A is a living room or not? Not decided. So what decides? Your mind decides. Your mind decides. Your mind decides, meaning it is subject or from the object. The room decides or you decide.
We decided, but I meant an example such as, let's take such example like the dream example, where somebody felt that their mother died. So let's say somebody's mother dies in real life.
The real life.
How do we make that?
I lost my mother when I was a little boy.
So how does one make that subjective? Because that is objective.
Okay. So so this is a very important question. The best approach would be to say that instead of saying that it is subjective, right? You can say that how can we say that this is subjective? You're getting it? Okay. So this lady who passed away, my mother, who passed away when I was 5 years old. So this lady, was she made of atoms? 100% yes. Right? So which of the atom is my mother? None of the atom is my mother. You getting it? So on that level, we see that there's no mother. But so from distance, I can see as a mother. You go closer to the object. Objective means closer to the object. Closer to the object, it's just a bunch of atoms. You're also a bunch of atoms. I'm also a bunch of atoms talking. Right? So on that level, there's no mother. So mother that we see is purely from distance. Say, you like cheesecake? Sure? Say, if you really want to appreciate cheesecake, don't look at the cheesecake through electron microscope. You will not enjoy cheesecake. It's just a bunch of atoms, that's it. If you want to enjoy cheesecake, remove the electron microscope. Look at it with your naked eyes. Then you see cheesecake and your mouth will water. You're getting it? So therefore, the point is that what we are seeing is just purely how our eyes perceive. And our eyes can be deceptive. You're getting it? So what we see, we take for granted. And I'm sure that you'll ask why we are all seeing the same thing. Can be your question. Because we are all hallucinating, we are all having the same disease. For example, say, what's the color of snow? white. But if you all put on blue glasses, we are all bound to see the snow as blue. Simply because we agree doesn't mean that it is blue. You're getting it? Simply because we all agree that there's a mother there doesn't mean that this, the reality is what tallies with our agreement. So the point is that subjective, it has to be understood on various levels. So first starting from very gross, like the dream, then take it to a subtler, and some subjective, some understand subjectivity, they would last very briefly. Some subjectivity can last eternally. You're getting it? Subjectivity can last eternally. So it has various levels. If you are really keen on this, how to say everything is subjective, the point is that to know things are subjective doesn't mean that the world will change. The world will not change. Your perception will change. Because your perception change, what's the benefit? Your mental stress will go down. All your anxieties will... The whole purpose for the education is to make the life of the world, make life of the individual and the world a better life, which means to get rid of stress, anxiety, and so forth. So this is the benefit. So for that matter, and what degree of stress you want to get it off? 10, 20, 80%? What degree of stress you want to get it off? You're not sure. 20% okay. 80% stress is okay.
I think subjective, like stress is also subjective. Sometimes you don't have any stress, sometimes you have a lot of stress.
No, this is what I'm saying. Say, if somebody says that, what's your name?
Rudrakshi.
Rudrakshi, I'll give you 30% stress, it's fine.
Like ideal situation is 0% stress.
Okay, so the point is that if there's a possibility, I would go for 0% stress. But is possible, not possible? This is a question. You getting it? I'm not saying that you have to, this is the answer. No, I'm saying that first, if there's a possibility, I would rather go for the 0% stress. But I'm not sure if that is possible. You getting it? So the first thing to deal with is the first question, whether it is possible to make stress 0%, if it's possible. If the answer is yes, then the next question is how. You getting it? So for this, either you have to wait for the next class, or you have to go for the... Okay, next question. Is over the... Yes, here.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
One is, what is the difference between what is contaminated and what is pure? How to select the thing which is pure and what is contaminated?
This is very good question. Okay.
And the second question is, how to deal with the fear of unknown? Like
A fear of?
unknown, like what's going to happen in future?
Okay. So, the first one is, how do you define contaminated and pure? This is a good question. Say, okay, so this will come later. How to distinguish between what is contaminated and what is pure? What I was saying is that what is positive and what is negative? What do you understand by positive, negative?
I see it as a spectrum, like there is one end that is positive and the other is negative.
What do you understand by positive? That end, which you call as positive, what do you mean by positive?
I don't know.
You don't know. Huh? Very good. So, yes, what yes said is that positive, negative, there's nothing absolute. It's contextual. So likewise, contaminated, contaminated and pure is contextual. In one context, in the context of, hey, come to the classroom, pure, clean, right? So it doesn't mean that they say don't come after eating food, right? So usually when you eat food and you don't brush your teeth, it's contaminated, right? But it doesn't mean that. It has its own context. Okay, you come decent with a clean clothes, that's good, right? you say take a bath, shower, and then come with the clean clothes. That's good. That's good enough. It's not talking about, okay, your clothes, does it have a stain, no stain? No. But there are some, say, computer parts. When you watch the computer parts, the water contaminated underground, very clear demarcation is there. It should be like, say, the purity of water. Purity of water is amazing. When I was in Singapore, the person who owns this company to watch the computer parts, he said that this water is 3%, that they say 97% pure. 3% very subtle, so they otherwise is too clean water, because the computer parts, if the dust in between, if they are like 10% and above, then the computer efficiency will go away. So to wash it, it must be used, the water that you use must be extremely clean. So it is very contextual. In this context, what we said earlier, all contaminated things are subtle in nature. Contamination of your mind, not outside. So contamination of your mind involves contamination by ignorance and contamination by the selfishness. These two are the contaminations. And in this context, in this line, all contaminated things are subtle in nature. Contaminated, that is the cognitive contamination, cognitive error. That is the contamination referred to here. Okay, next question. Okay, you have second question. What's the second one?
Sir, how to tackle deal with the fear of future, fear of unknown?
Okay, the fear of the unknown. The fear of the unknown. This is a good question. Okay, how many have that fear? Raise hands. Okay, we all have this fear, right? Fear of the unknown. Okay, don't use the word unknown. That makes you be a small fear. Right? Let's say the future, the fear of the future. Right? That makes things more solid. Future, unknown, what unknown? Right? Okay, the fear of the future. Okay, tell me. For example, say if there are two children, one studying so well, and one always in the pubs, right? And who you as a parent, which of the two child A or B, you'll be more confident that I don't really have to worry about this child so much. One who studies more and who doesn't go into the pubs. Why? Because the future is determined by the previous moment. Future is the result determined by the previous moment as the cause. So the whole universe operates on basic cause and effect. So if you want the good future, make sure that the cause is good. And the cause is what? Physical, mental, both. Physical, mental, both. For you have a physical body, make sure that you don't neglect your food, you don't neglect your sleep, and a little bit of exercise. These things must be taken care of. And the mind, don't go into ignorance, don't go too much into the gadgets, right? Waste so much of time with the gadgets. Instead, even if you use gadgets, read some meaningful articles. So, and then say when you interact with people, try to get rid of the anger as much as possible. The first is try to stay away from anger towards your mother. Charity begins at home. You're getting it? Stay away from anger. That destroys you. So make sure that you are say the future is determined by the respective causes. Causes decide the result. Don't think that the Buddha, God, Ishvara, and so forth. That I have no responsibility. They'll decide. This is too much. Don't blame the God. Don't blame Buddha. Right? Blame your own actions. So the future is determined by your present moment. Present moment. Take care of your present moment. The future will be taken care of. Don't worry. Good? Yes, over there.
But sir, I think you're talking about the future depends on the present moment, what we do.
Yes.
Right? But there are some things which happens to us, but that doesn't dependent on the past action that we did. For example, a person born in a poor family, so he suffers, but that suffering is not because of the action that that particular boy has done.
The boy did not do anything bad, right? What wrong did the boy? What wrong did the boy do to make him take birth in the poor family? He did not do anything bad. You getting it? So then what about this? Where is the cause and effect? You getting it? Okay. So for this, what I would say, this is a very serious question. Very serious question. So we have to deal with these questions on two levels. Number one, on the level of the ordinary people's understanding. Number two, a deeper reality. You're getting it? Deeper reality. For example, a small child, yes, when you were a little boy, you must have told your mother, I don't want to go to school.
Yeah.
Yes. So if the mother, okay, yeah, you don't want to go to school? Okay, it's fine. What do you do? I want to play, right? If your mother allows you to do that, today you will fight with your mother. You will blame the mother. You getting it? And the mother, you said you want to go to school, but I was a little child. You getting it? So we are all like little children. We are all like little children who cannot see things far away in time and space. We see only what is around now. So for these people, we have to address the answer in one capacity. And for those people who can see things broader in time and space, then we can talk about that, what is today. For example, say that somehow I'm in Delhi. I was not in Delhi. I was from Dharamsala. I was from South India, not in Delhi. But how I ended up in Delhi? You're getting it? How I ended up in Delhi? So I didn't say that I want to go to Delhi. I didn't say that. Although I like Delhi today. But I didn't say this. So there's some causal factors responsible for that. There are some causes responsible. It's not random. There are only two possibilities. Either it should be random, that the child is born in a poor family. Either you are born in a poor family, is a random, or this should be cause. This should be the only two answers. Randomness, why? With the randomness, there's so many contradictions there. So many contradictions. Even with Charles Darwin's evolutionary theory, even today, many biologists, they ask the same question. Randomness. You're getting it? So why, in physics, we talk about the entropy. And then Charles Darwin is talking about, say the less organized organism becoming more and more organized. Entropy is the opposite. What is organized becomes less and less organized. This very opposite. So how things become from a unicellular organism, it becomes very sophisticated organism today as human being. Even the blood, how the blood operates is amazing. The blood inside the body, it works as a fluid. The moment it comes out, it clots to stop the blood from overflowing. So the person doesn't die. It's amazing. And part of the brain gets damaged, another part of the brain will take over the responsibility of the other part of the brain. It's amazing. All these wonders are there. So all this very sophisticated mechanism came into existence. How? Random. You're getting it? So this random has no rule. Random is because they cannot explain. So they just say it's random. So the child being born in a poor family, is it random? Then why not all others are randomly born in the poor family? Why someone born in a rich family? Why someone born in the poor family? Why? There should be a reason. So what is the reason? Don't blame the God. Don't blame the Buddha. Because then the Buddha or the God becomes very unkind, biased. So there should be a reason. What is that reason? That reason is today known as your mental intention of your past life. Then there's the karma. So then next question is, how do we know the past life? This is again a big question. You getting it? If you're interested, we can go in this also. Not today.
Yeah, I remember that in one of our lecture, ma'am said that in Buddhist philosophy, I guess they don't believe in, I think, karma, I guess. If I'm not wrong.
Hey, don't quote, don't quote, don't quote. Hey,
Don't confuse about the whole concept because
no self.
if you're talking about past karma, so past life, and
There's no self.
yeah, then there must be a self.
Yeah.
Soul. There must be a soul.
So what's the question? The question must be very clear, so that.
I think the question I didn't get the answer.
What is the question? Before you get the answer, you should have the question.
Other one I asked that why the small child born in a poor family, right?
That I already answered.
But randomness you were saying about the.
No, there is no randomness. There should be because of the previous intention of the same person in the past life. This is my response. So your next question could be, there are two possible questions. One is that, how do we know that there is a past life? This is the first question.
Yeah.
Second question would be, in Buddhism, there's no concept of self. There's no concept of person. And how do you talk about the person reincarnated from one life to the next life if there's no self in the first case?
Yeah.
These are the two possible questions. Which one?
The second.
The second one? Okay. So for that, you should really study it well. Buddhism does not mean that self is not there. Self exists. Never ever say that the Buddha taught there is no self. But then we just read it. So where it says the it says that everything is the nature of emptiness and selflessness. You getting it? So it doesn't mean that there's no self. It simply means there's no objective self. Everything is subjective. Subjectively, everything exists. You exist, I exist, the IIT exists, everything exists subjectively, but objectively, the self doesn't exist. This is the meaning.
Ultimately, self doesn't exist.
In the ultimate sense, in the conventional sense, things exist. But when we say ultimately, again, there's in English, there's ambiguity there. Ultimately, for example, okay, ultimately, I'll kick you out from our company. You're getting it? Ultimately, which means it is me. It's another way of saying that you'll be kicked out. Right? You're getting it? But here, the ultimately is a different connotation. It should not be understood in that context. Okay, next question. Yes, over there.
Hello. I read somewhere that there are 5 things that come together, like air, water, and
5 elements.
fire, and I forgot the other two. And this, when they come together, this gives the reincarnation or the afterlife. So you can express your thoughts on that.
Okay, so basically, to make it easy for us, let us make it like, say, today we are alive. Undeniably, nobody can deny the reality that we are alive today. You are alive. What's your name? Prasenji. Prasenjit. Okay, Prasenjit is alive. Nobody can deny this reality. So what is Prasenjit? Prasenjit is a boy, because he has a body of a boy. Prasenjit has a mind, can think, because he has a mind. So, and he has element of earth, meaning the solid parts, element of water, the blood, element of air, that you breathe in and out, element of fire, the body heat, element of space, the body space, element of consciousness, element of mind, thinking. So you are made of these 6 elements. And some people say 5. 5, if you count 5, then remove the mind, just with the physical matters. With the animate objects like us, add the mind, so which makes 6. So this is who we are today, who you are today. Then when we die, what happens? All physical related, body, fire, air, space, water, they will all be left behind. And your mind will travel to the next life. Your mind will travel to the next life, again meet with the next element: water, fire, air, space. Again you become the next person there. It's a continuum of the person, Prasenjit, but your body is different. You're male today, you can be female next life. So this is how the person comes into existence. Good? The girl over there?
So, just one last question.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. My question was in continuation of his question, when the body is dismissed, it is get on fired or burned down. So the elements cannot go because they are either put on fire or they are burned down. So what goes to the next life? As you said, something is there which takes the past life, and we can say that there is something which is invisible, which is taking all these things. What we can say, because we cannot see, the five elements cannot go because they are put on fire or something like that. So what is the thing
That goes to the next life.
yeah, what is the thing which is carrying all those sanskars, I would say, or all those karmas, karmika karmas? So
Okay. This is a very serious question. A very serious question. For example, let's say, why some people they are born genius? Why some people they are not so genius? And I personally would say that when I was a little boy, I was so fond of physics, and I was so fond of mathematics. These two were my major, I would say, like what? The subjects that I like, these two. And then some people they hate. For example, my teacher in South India, Venerable Geshe Dorji, he was just, you mention his name, sometimes I joke that if you want to, from Delhi, if you want to send something to him, you can just write Venerable Geshe Dorji, Karnataka State, and then the Lama Camp 2, Karnataka State. You don't have to give any detail. It's so popular that it gets there and you'll get to the correct person. It's so popular as a philosopher, as a logician, as a psychologist, and as a practitioner. Amazing. Amazing. And his attendant, who was also his nephew, what do you think is his academic, the performance, intelligence? Terrible. So one time, his attendant, he was a little boy and then studying, and his uncle is known all over the big monastery universities, all over, and the nephew, he was also the attendant and also a student, and he scored 4 out of 100. And his uncle was the teacher of the teacher of the teacher, that top professor. And the nephew scored 4 out of 100. And the nephew felt so embarrassed and scared. Now how will I show my face to my uncle? My uncle is such a renowned master, and he will feel that I'm the one born to embarrass the whole family. And then finally, he is the attendant, so he has to serve his uncle food. So he went there, and the uncle already knew what was going around. And asked, "Hey, Novasanto, did you get your result sheet?" He said, yes. How much did you get? He said, 4 out of 100. Right? And the uncle said that, wow, that's amazing. Amazing. I was not even expecting 4. I thought you were going to get 0. Right? You got at least 4. That's amazing. Right? So what I'm saying is, why some are born with such as genius like the uncle? And why is someone born intellectually so weak as the nephew? Why? There should be a reason. So that is purely from, again, don't blame Buddha, God, whoever, don't blame them. right, is what you have inherited from the past life. For example, today, whatever you know something, it's not because of yesterday, your knowledge of yesterday, unless you have known something new today. Otherwise, your knowledge about your school days, all these things you can share with other people very confidently because you brought this information from your past. So likewise, what we are seeing today, this life, is just one. And that's the previous life also. So that question is, what then carries all these imprints, or what carries all these, the tendencies of the knowledge and so forth from one life to the next life? Because we are nothing but made of these 6 elements: earth, water, fire, air, space, and mind. Of the 6, the first 5, we leave. When we die, we leave. We leave. Only the mind travels to the next life. Mind travels. So then the next question is, how do we know that the mind travels? How do we know that there's a mind which is different from the brain? This is a big question. This is an extremely important question and very big question. So if you were to ask me today in a few minutes, what I would say is that the mind travels to the next life, then the mind will acquire again the other remaining 5 the elements, and then again become the next B. This is how it operates.
Would you say that only mind, which carries the consciousness, that travels, or the intellect, which was that in that B, that also carries it?
Okay, so these are the different terminologies that we need to remember. Like what you said, some mind, intellect, and the soul, and so forth, consciousness, and so forth. The thing is that, I wouldn't even say, according to Buddhism, I wouldn't say that. What I would say is that today, what I have is that I have a mind, I can think. This is what the conventional world, if you go to talk to a neuroscientist, they will say that, yes, you have a thinking element. That thinking mind which is not visible. That's your mind. Within this mind, there's the intellect also. Because this mind has the capacity to intellectually think. It's the intellect element, the element of the intellect also. So what you call as mind, intellect is distinct from my point of view, from the point of view of the common understanding of the world. We see that within me, what I call is my mind today. When I talk to neuroscientists, when I talk to psychologists, even to ordinary people, this mind, which we all agree has the element of intellect, has the element of consciousness, has the element of the mind. Yes.
Actually, I thought that mind we say, if I would say in Hindi, so we say mind as man and intellect as buddhi. So we treat man as a child, mind as a child, and intellect acts like a father or a parent for the mind. Because mind has something to create thoughts, but intellect has to give the direction for the mind to go and what to do. Like just the mind, like a small child in a fair says parent that I want this toy, but it's not of any use for the child. So the father said to the child that it's not for your use. So then the father, it's like the intellect, the buddhi.
Okay, may I interrupt you now? Okay, because I know what you're talking. So basically what we need to remember is that the vocabularies should not stop you from understanding the concepts. You getting it? So finally, whatever vocabulary that you use, make sure that each one of us, if you really want to know the knowledge, not the Buddhist knowledge, not the Hindu knowledge, not the Christian knowledge, but the knowledge. Like pizza, right? Don't say Tibetan pizza, Indian pizza, right? Say pizza. Likewise, the knowledge. To get the knowledge is very important to be extremely good observer and listener. When you listen to somebody else, for example, say, if I were to listen to a Christian philosopher, I should make sure that what background the other person coming from and what vocabularies the other person use, I should not superimpose my vocabularies on what the other person's understanding. I have to be very I should be able to sympathize with the other person's usage of vocabularies, respect that, and then from there take out the concept. You're getting it? For example, I'll give you if you don't do that. So for this, how to do that is first you have to learn the different traditions, different vocabularies, and the concepts. Then you will be in a position to do that. I'll give you the example. If you don't say if you're not aware of what the other person is talking about, if you superimpose your understanding with the vocabulary used by the other person, what's the problem? I'll share the example. Very interesting. Again, a Buddhist monk teacher, and monk student. And monk teacher was older than my age, right? Older than my age, must be in 60s or 70s. And he had no idea of computers, right? And a monk student, he has all the gadgets, TikTok, what else? Reel, what else? Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, so forth. And then the monk student, he was a little worried. Oh, I'm a monk. Am I allowed to use the emails? Right? Not today. Even today, emails also rejected now. In the past, like 20 years ago, emails very popular. Am I allowed to use the emails? So, how does he decide? He has to check with the teacher. Teachers no idea of the computer. So he went to the teacher, sir, can the monks use emails? And the teacher has no idea what is email. So teacher said, to be on the safe side, okay, I don't know what email is, but to be on the safe side, he said that, oh, you can use email as long as there's no attachment. Right? Because the monks, what is important is to make sure that you cut down your attachment. So as long as there's no attachment, you can use email, it's fine. Right? How can you use emails without attachment? Right? You have to send attachments, professors, their job is to send attachments, right, every day. So therefore, this is a problem when there's a language barrier, where you are not sensitive to the usage of the vocabularies of the other person. You're getting it? So therefore, the point is that, particularly young people, your job is not to get stuck with the vocabularies. You have to know the vocabularies, they reference what they refer to. They reference, you have to know them so well, and then be able to be very sensitive to whatever the other person is talking. Your job is to extract the concept. Don't get stuck with the vocabularies. You getting it? Good.
Thank you, Geshe. On behalf of all of us here, it's 7:12. It's unimaginable that any other professor would have held forth for so long. And how right you are about this idea of question. And you know, this is something that philosophers own all their lives, the attitude or the path towards the question. And I think it is something that one really has to learn from you and from further talks. And I really, we're very, very grateful you broke your silence for us, and your silence for such a long time. So this is precious, and I'm so grateful. On behalf of all of us who are here and those who've left for their classes, very grateful, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Professor Bharati, and thank you to Professor Naveen ji, and thank you all the TAs. Thank you all the TAs and all the students. Thank you. What a joy. For me, to be very honest, this question answer session is the one which I really enjoy the most. Thank you for all the questions. Thank you. Thank you.